I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of tonight's meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public input session. Are there any members of the press here tonight? No? I know you weren't, but I just had to check. Our first order of business is to approve our minutes from our meeting on May 16th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting on May 16th.
I second.
All right, does anybody have any corrections? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor. All right, next up we have our student representatives.
Hello, everyone. So this past Saturday, the seniors had their graduation at Songus Center in Lowell. And next week is finals week. So on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, students will have to take their final for 2 classes. And on Thursday, there will be 1 final and a makeup period. And this Thursday is the National English Honor Society and National Honor Society inductions in the PAC at CHS. And this Saturday is the junior class cotillion at CHS from 6 to 9 in the CAF.
Thank you.
Today, some sophomores and freshmen took the biology MCAS, and it was their first session, and they'll finish their second session tomorrow. And Tuesday, June 13th, is the 8th graders move-up day. They will be meeting with some of the selected sophomores and juniors who will become their mentors. The 8th graders will be touring the school and getting a chance to learn and ask questions about the high school.
Thank you. So our next meeting is your last meeting with us for this year?
This is our last meeting.
Because they're out of school for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Are you still in school?
Yeah. That's a sore subject, Dennis. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you'd like to attend, feel free, okay? Does anybody have any good news?
Just in case you weren't aware, we have 7 more days of school left. So some good news there, sorry, Donna. And graduation was great this past weekend. We celebrated 106th graduation for Chelmsford High School, and it went off without a hitch. And I think the students just, enjoyed going through their first ceremony as graduates.
Someone told me that they watched it in the streaming and that it was amazing. So I really would like to congratulate the TV group for doing such an immense job. They really did. And everything up on the teleprompter, it was wonderful. They got people just on time.
Jumbotron.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Any other good news? All right, moving on to, so I'm sorry, we had no public comment for tonight.
We didn't.
Okay, so moving on to new business.
Sure. We actually have a couple of presentations tonight, keeping with that theme of highlighting one of the departments or schools at each of our school committee meetings. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit of a focus on community education. So we have Robin Adams and Kelly with us tonight from Community Ed. So if you wanted to shift over to that table, one of the things, again, it's kind of timely when we take a look at the different presentations. ComEd obviously does a lot of programming year-round, before school, after school, which they're going to touch on. It's vacation week programming, but the summer is a big time for them. So we're happy to have them here tonight to review some of their programming and to talk a little bit about what's happening at Community Ed. So if you just bring the mic a little bit closer to you when you're talking, perfect, and you're good to go.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having us here. We're happy to be here and talk about Chelmsford Community Education. Like I said, I'm Robin, and this is Kelly, my assistant director. So we put a quick slideshow together just with some of the highlights of what we do. Some of our newest programs this year are Summer Splash. We started that last summer. It was a pilot program for preschool, like a summer camp, but it's not officially a camp. It's a summer program where we have a part-day option for preschoolers as well as a full day. We had a lot of parents looking for that as an option, so we tried as a pilot. It filled very quickly, so we're going to follow through with that and make that part of our annual summer events. Since I've last been here, last year we opened Lions Pride North as a full day program. For those of you who knew, Lions Den used to be a part day program at the high school, and now it's a full day. We found there was more need, and we had a lot of parents who couldn't get into our other full day preschools, so we opened that. We gutted the whole room. We put in new staff, put in new materials, and it's a really beautiful state of the art facility now at the high school. And we're really fortunate to have the students that go to the early childhood programs at the high school come and work with our students, so they get hands-on learning, and we get to have their assistance with the students, which is a great benefit. And then we're just starting back with travel. That ended right before Corey. We used to do a lot of day trips for little shows or apple picking or things like that. So a bus will come to a local location, people can get on it and go there, and that's part of our adult ed. So we've had a lot of interest in that now that COVID has ended, and we're started that. We're getting a lot of feedback from a lot of the community members that are happy with that. We have some doo-wop and some different musical ones that are starting soon, and I forget which one they're
A
going
lot
to.
of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun trips, yeah.
Yeah?
You should go on the website and look at them. I mean, they're interesting.
Yeah. So this we did some quick pictures of some of our programs. So Lions Pride North is what I just talked about. That's at the high school, and those are two of the high school students that are working with the students. The younger kids love working with the high school students and vice versa. So we have 15 children that we take there each day, and the high school comes over from child development 1, 2, and 3, and depending on which child development they're in is how much time they spend with us. And it's fully enrolled with a wait list, similar to our other program at the Westland School. Extended day is something we're known for. Extended day, for those who don't know, we have before and after school care at all of the elementary schools and as well as Parker Middle School. We do before care, after care, and we had 456 students this year doing it. Parents can pick 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. They can just do before school, just after school. So it gives parents who are working or have other commitments a lot of flexibility for what they need from us as a service. We also offer vacation care as well, so February and April vacation when parents need a little extra time. Again, some quick pictures. Those are all at South Row. Some of our students there are just enjoying the program. We like to do a lot of free play for the kids with options so that they have something to do, because for students who've been sitting in a classroom all day, they don't want to come and have a real rigorous, you have to do an art craft, you have to do something. So we put materials out. We like to let them have as much freedom as they can within the expectations of our program.
So I'm going to talk about the adult education. This year we had over 2,700 registers for your programs at night. We have 2 locations. We do it at the Westland schools and the high school. Mondays and Wednesdays is our school, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are at the high school. Last year we offered over 150 classes in the spring. Not last year, I mean this spring. And it's a very well-rounded program. You have a lot of great classes, and I mean, there's a lot of people looking for different things, and older people, younger people taking all the classes, from everything from yoga to dance and all kinds of different things that you can sign up for. We offer kids classes too with the adults, which is really unique. A lot of adult programs don't offer that for children, so that's a good opportunity for people to have something else to bring their child to. We offer a lot of cooking classes, which is very unique too, because a lot of adult education places did not bring cooking back after COVID. So those are very popular. They always sell out. We usually have 1 or 2 of them offerings at the same class because, so many people sign up for them. They're a lot of fun. Some of the upcoming classes we have are, chess, baking, the trips, pickleball, drawing for adults, digital photography is something that's new that came back, chakras for beginners, and a lot of the children ones. There's a lot of children-based programs offered in the summer here, which are great programs to have: basketball, biking, like all kinds of different learning curriculum programs too as well.
Slime Week, if you want to sign up, Slime Week.
Yeah.
During the summer, we also offer Summerfest over at the Westland School, and that's our full day program for elementary age students. We have 130 students a day. So when you put all the kids together, we have 273 students who come for us. They can again sign up for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks. We go up to 6 weeks. We do weekly themes and weekly field trips so that the kids get to have a well-rounded summer. And we also do stations, so throughout the day, they get to rotate every hour and go to a different area so that they're not forced again. Our whole philosophy is about giving children choices. They don't get enough choices in their sets routine in a lot of their lives, so they get to go up to a choice board and pick whether they want to go to the art station, the STEM station, outdoor rec, indoor rec. We have a chill zone where they can just go hang out with their friends and play board games, and it's air conditioned. So throughout the day, every hour, they get to go back to that board and pick a different activity to go to, which we have found has been very successful with reducing behavioral issues and keeping kids interested and keeping kids wanting to be there, so they feel that they're fulfilling what they like. I always talk about my own children. I had one boy who did all outdoor stuff. He would go from the gym to outdoor rec to the gym to outdoor rec and be sweating. My other son does not like being outdoors, and he would go from art to chill zone and just stay inside. And it met both their needs. They're totally different children, so that's our goal when we design our themes and our activities. Summer Quest, this child is now in high school, but I'll always put his picture on, which I've told him because those cheeks, that was indoor skydiving. And Summer Quest we started in 2019 because we found there's a need for children who were older than Summerfest. They didn't need that routine, but they wanted to still have an activity for their children. So we go on a field trip every single day, and the parents can sign that the kids get a little independence, that they have to check in with us every couple hours, or we have adults who walk around with them, so they can go to Canopy, they can go to the zoo, they can go and be with their friends. We only take 40 students, which is a nice manageable group, and they're off-site, they're hiking, they're going to tidal pools, anywhere you can think of, they go to. So that's been a huge hit, and it fills up every year. These are just more cute pictures because our kids are too little to come at this time, and half of them are going to bed. So this is our preschool over at Lions Pride. This is the full day at the Westland School, where we have 5 classrooms. We have toddlers through pre-K and just some pre-writing. And then we did Touch a Truck. That was in collaboration with CHIPS. Their PTO put it on, but they invited us to go out, so our students were a part of that. 2 years ago, we put in some raised garden beds, so the students go out each year and they plant their own. They plant their own gardens. So they planted lettuce and I forget what the other thing is your carrots and something else. That the lettuce is just coming up, so they go out and pick the lettuce and they get to try it and stuff. So that was our toddler class going out and planting. And then pre-K, we're really proud of our pre-K curriculum. We follow the same curriculum the public school does, so that the kids go into kindergarten more than ready for any expectations of kindergarten. And that's our kids off to go.
So cute. So this is just a slide of our revenue that we took in for our programs, broken down by the programs. Extended Day is clearly a very well.
It brings in a lot of revenue.
Yeah, it brings in a lot of revenue. As you can see, Lions Pride North, the adult education actually was increased about, I think, 70,000 more this year. So I mean, the classes, we added more classes, it increased, and you can see that coming in Summerfest and Summer Quest. But good revenue.
Mm-hmm. And then long-term plans, as community education, our goal is always to offer activities at a reasonable cost to the community to try and meet the needs of young children up to seniors who are part of our community, keep things affordable, build community relationships. We try and do little games. There'll be another game this summer where kids can go with their parents and go to a park and find clues and get a little prize or something like that, just to offer free things, affordable things, and trips and activities for parents who are fortunate enough to have more income to do other things. So we try and cover the whole range and the needs of everybody. And that's it. We are short and sweet. Does anybody have questions for us, or?
Anybody have any questions or thoughts?
No, just a quick thought. The programming is obviously excellent, attributed to like all the different waiting lists you have for programs. I think you do a great job. I mean, I think the programs honestly speak for themselves, particularly this summer. One of the programs you were saying actually filled up like almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
In minutes.
Yeah. It filled up very, very quickly. We actually had a technology issue because it crashed the system. So
Right.
if any of you were trying to get in, I'm sorry. But we spent a few weeks going through it and trying to get people in with our technology department because the software we use, not our town technology. But yeah, it fills within minutes. Our Lions Pride fills within 10 to 15 minutes every year. Extended day, parents are waiting by the computers, and we do everything online now. Prior to starting, the parents used to wait outside, and parents would all send it was usually the husbands that got sent and waited at 5 in the morning outside for us to open our doors at 9. So we feel a little better that they're on a computer waiting at 5 in the morning, but yeah, our programs fill very, very quickly, and our staff is amazing. Our office staff, our teachers, and counselors, they do the work. We're just lucky enough to be the ones who lead it right now.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And we'll shift gears to a second presentation of the night. It's always nice to hear from Nancy Antolini in Food Service and Nutrition Services. Nancy usually comes this time of the year and does a food service department kind of year in review, talks a little bit about what's been happening this past year, what we look ahead for. And Nancy, we're happy to have you back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back. So it's been quite the year. Sorry, is that right?
Oh, yeah, but just point to right at you is perfect.
Okay. So it's been quite the year. We've served quite a few children, but nothing like Comet. We just feed Comet. So the number of the meals that we've served thus far, you can see in the comparison to last year. For breakfast, we're at 156,352. And that was comparison to last year of 245. That has dropped a little bit, but we don't know. We're not at the end of the year yet. Lunches, it's 390,000 thus far at the end of April. In comparison to last year was 457. And then our total thus far is 546,796. And the comparison to last year was 702,000. But that was, like I say, we still have quite a bit more to go. So breakfast and lunch similar this year was no cost to the students. The source of the funding is slightly different though this school year. The funding comes from Massachusetts itself. There is no USDA did not allow free lunches this year, so it is all coming. The balance of it comes from Massachusetts. And so we're still waiting on legislation on that. They did away like our free and our reduced lunches, so they just Massachusetts pays the difference between paid and free lunches. So we're hopefully that will come again. The remainder of the funding to keep all the breakfast and the lunch at no cost to students comes from, as I said, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as part of the FY23 budget. The USDA federal funding guidance this next school year is that schools will continue the traditional model of free, reduced, and paid. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has not passed the 2024 budget to date at this time. It is unknown if breakfast and lunch will remain at no cost to all the students for the 23-24 school year. Again, we're waiting to see the Senate. We are not recommending any change to the current meal price at this time. The prices were voted on May 17th of 2022 by the school committee meeting. As a reminder, the paid breakfast and lunch price needs to be greater than the amount of the USDA reimbursement for the district for the free and reduced meals. Amount we'll know again in July 1st, since free and reduced meals cannot subsidize the paid rates. So that'll be something that we'll have to look at after July 1st and after we see, which we wouldn't expect to see anything from the government until August. So it's going to be a tight year for us, again, to see if we have to change over to paid. So it should be interesting. Right now, our breakfast is $1.75. Our lunch at the high school and the middle school is at $3.25, and our elementaries are at $2.75.
Yeah, so just kind of the takeaway is we don't know what's going to happen with the state government. So a couple of years back, the federal government really subsidized the whole thing. This past year, they weren't going to do that. I think the state of Mass was the only state to actually step up and in the end make that make-up amount so that everyone still had free breakfast and lunch. At this point, the federal government is still going to pay their subsidies, but there's that extra cost that has to get picked up. We're fortunate enough that the fee structure that we approved last year, in the event that we had to pay for lunches and breakfasts and things, is fine to cover our costs for next year. If we had to go to a paid model, we know what the fees would be. We don't have to come back to the school committee for further action. And we just need to wait now for the Mass legislature to see if they're going to pass a bill to basically pay the differential so that lunches and breakfasts are free again. But it's not going to be until sometime this summer when we know that. As soon as we know, we'll communicate that out to folks. And our backup plan would be to go to the paid rates that we already have established. But as soon as we know more, we'll let you know.
Is that something that's in the budget as a possibility, or?
It's in one of the amendments, and it's just making its way through. But, I don't think it's going to be, obviously, before the end of the school year before we know, so it probably is going to be sometime in August.
If I could just add to that, we have gone up, I myself have been at State House and all, so it's just the Senate's bill, they have not passed it. Because there's a lot of confusion going on right now, because I hear it all the time, is that they're saying, well, the governor put it in the budget, but it hasn't passed. The House of Reps has passed it, but it has not passed through the Senate budget. So we're working on that. So the 23-24, the bid awards, the paper has been awarded to the Mansfield Paper Company, dairy to Rosev, and it's a rollover. Grocery has been awarded again to Thurston Foods, the bread to Fantini, and again, that's a rollover. And our fresh pizza is Gil's Pizza, and that again is a rollover. So, accomplishments. We increased the meals served over 45% participation at each school. We reevaluated the needs of the school district and adapted the plans to meet those needs to serve breakfast and lunch at each site. We continue to introduce new menu items with the scratch cooking recipes. And I could just add to that's a big thing in Massachusetts now. Farm to School, we're trying to keep that going, even if this doesn't pass, if the bill does not pass. So we've been doing a lot of Farm to School meals. Meals are prepared with the state-of-the-art equipment at the high school and delivered to the elementaries schools daily. And we will also be adding McCarthy to that beautiful kitchens. We have Parker now, and McCarthy will be finished. Completed the refresh of cafeteria tables for all the schools last year, with the final 3 schools receiving the tables in the fall of 2022. We installed 3 vending machines as a pilot program near the gymnasium at the Chelmsford High School. We've had a little complications here and there with those, but they're going pretty well. We've provided a lot of input to the design plans for the McCarthy Kitchen renovations project in the high school kitchen renovation project. We hire new employees working closely with human resources in our recruitment efforts to regional job fairs. And I have to thank human resources. They've been fantastic to work with. They really, Nancy Souza and Christina Bradshaw, and they're terrific to work with. Implemented a partnership with Valley Collaborative to have the 3 to 5 individuals assist in the team in the high school commissary daily. That's a great program, and we hope to continue that next year. That maybe we'll just reduce to 3 because of the way the kitchen's set up. But they've really helped. The individuals have helped quite a bit with our breakfast program, and we spend time with them and teach them how to do other things. So it's really working out well. We're pleased there. All staff received monthly sanitation training as usual. All staff received 3 professional development days, in-house training, review again of the National School Lunch Program guidelines, review of production records and inventory, and procedures and hands-on culinary training for scratch cooking. And you might have heard that we had a big day. We had this program that we cooked all Indian fare, and every bit of it was cooked from scratch, and every bit of it was cooked from farm to schools. So there wasn't anything that was processed, right? It was fantastic. And I continue as the leadership role in the SNA of Mass president, planning the conferences in October and the February conferences. So that was kind of exciting for me. So my next life, maybe I'll do conference work. So the future, we're hoping to implement, well, I should say we're hoping, because we are implementing the modernization of the McCarthy and the high school kitchens with capital funding. We thank them. Enhanced cafeterias with updated painting and storefront murals. As you saw at Parker School, we're hoping to get the elementaries done, a couple of them at least done this summer, and the rest, next fall. We've been doing Tasted Tuesdays at South Road that you might have heard about with the wellness program. So we've been asked to expand that to the other elementaries, hopefully next year. So every other Tuesday, we provide just a little taste, like yesterday was bell peppers, and the kids seem to love it. So every student gets to taste the bell pepper. Watermelon was a couple of weeks ago. So we do that, and it's the taste of the vegetable itself or the fruit, because we can't put anything on it, so they taste what is pure, like they tasted the zucchini, raw zucchini, so things like that. And it's really been remarkable. The kids then will go into the line like it, so it's nice. My goal would be, I would hope, to establish a student advisory council. I've been wanting to do that since the 6 years I've been here, and we've tried, and then COVID hit, and then, so hopefully this year we can really get that up and running. And I would like to invite the school committee and administration to lunch. Joanna asked me how many times you want to come, but I would love when Parker we can go to first, and then hopefully when McCarthy's all up and running, we go over to McCarthy, and you can actually see what we do for lunch, and get a taste of it yourselves. We will also continue serving breakfast and lunch at all schools, using the high school as a commissary to prepare elementary school meals for delivery, hiring new staff to keep up with the expanded participation, which we hope we're doing, updating nutritional information using new software program, professional development and team building at school nutrition staff. We will continue with the Chef to School program and purchasing farm-to-school products. We've done more. Each year we do more and more, but this year there is some funding that's come our way to do some more of that. That's coming from the federal government. Purchasing farm-to-school products, as I said, and developing more scratch cooking recipes. There's a lot of compliance to developing recipes, so we can't do a whole bunch at once. So it takes some time on that. So next year I will be the past president, so I'll be a lot of things to do here as far as opening up McCarthy and working on renovating the high school. So is this the time I should bring up the two positions I'm looking for?
Why don't we start with if anybody has any questions on the presentation, if that's okay? Did anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question. It's probably just obvious. If the Commonwealth does not supplement and pay for lunches again, do you expect to have a real drop-off if families have to pay again?
Well,
Or do you think they got so used to not having to make their kids lunches, they're gonna keep going and pay anyway?
I don't think that will be, with the new schools, the new kitchens and the scratch cooking, and hopefully if we can hire more employees that, no one's told me not to hire employees. The problem is, it's hard to hire employees, as you must know from what we hear. So I don't see a drastic drop-off, and I hope not.
Curious what your thoughts are.
Exactly. 5 states now have adopted the fact of no free lunches across, so we're just hoping that Massachusetts will follow that, but 5 have now, and some we didn't expect to go so fast, like Colorado. But I can't see it. Let's hope.
Dennis, did you? Right?
Well, the question was about the same thought. If there would be do you know numbers compared from when they were paying versus not paying? And COVID probably had an interruption there too, so you can't really tell.
COVID did have an interruption, but I was doing numbers just the other day, and I was sitting there and I'm saying, we weren't doing poorly before this. We were starting to build up pretty good. So I don't see it. Maybe if we drop maybe 10-15%. I don't see it. And I hope
The
that.
cost is still very reasonable, really, it is. I love the idea that you would have a student advisory council. That's terrific, for the students so that they can give their input. Because they're really the biggest users of the food. I'm gonna take you up on it. I'm going to come to lunch one of these days.
Right.
Okay.
we do get a lot of people, students, like the civics classes now, and
Yes.
sometimes the information they have is false, and it's kind of hard to explain to them, like, someone just wrote to me and says, I know it only cost you $1.30 to make a meal. I go, well, 10 years ago maybe, but that chicken fillet is costing me $1.30 right now because of inflation, what's happened to the prices. 17%, it's been gone up every year for the last 4 years, 17% food costs.
Wow,
Yeah, so it's,
huge impact. You've contributed quite a bit to the Wellness Committee,
thank you.
really truly. And I think that whole thing, the tasting at the schools has been extremely popular. Do you think it will move on to all the elementary?
We're ready.
You're doing it?
Actually, Diana Fuller, she reached out to me already, and I said, sure. I says, if we're gonna do one, we should be doing them all. It would be nice because
That's
it
great.
shouldn't be one, but that was our pilot program, so hopefully next year we'll just open up with everybody, all 4.
That's super.
Thank you for coming in tonight. I just had a couple questions. The first is with regards to the Metro North Collaborative Bid Awards. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
So we belong to a collaborative, the Chelmsford, we belong to a collaborative. There's about 5 or 6 different collaboratives in Massachusetts, so we belong to a little bit smaller one. So we go out and bid together, like, I'll be honest with you, Wilmington, SEAM program, Tewksbury, Beverly, I can name right here, Innovative Academy. So there's a group of us, so we bid together, and so we get better pricing, but we all have to agree on the bid.
Okay,
And before we put that, we go out to bid.
great.
So, there are larger organizations, but you have no say in it. This way, I have a say of what I like for the food in Chelmsford.
Okay,
So,
all right, great. And then I think it's terrific, the work that you're doing with Valley Collaborative, is that part of their vocational development or
Yes.
training program? And then do we do that with any of our kids at the high school who are beginning their vocational exploration or training programs?
No,
No.
not currently.
I was just wondering about that.
I talked to Steve that maybe next year, some of the interns, when they're leaving, I would like to take on a few, like, because there's different aspects. There's not just cooking and everything. There's in the office, there's a bookkeeping. There's different things like that people don't realize. There's
Right.
we wear a lot of different hats.
Right.
So there's a lot of different interests that they could come.
I also think it's really terrific that you're thinking about a student advisory council, because I think that there is sometimes some misconceptions or people have ideas about the way things work, and that isn't necessarily really the way that they work. So I think having students involved, in the process in some way, talking about, what it is that they would like to see and understanding what it takes to pull off, getting meals to the schools on a daily basis, twice a day. I think that would be really, really helpful, to all of the kids, and the community as well.
Yes. And just to clarify too, that they've come to me about composting, but most 95% of the products that we do use in the food service area is all compostable. So I just wanted to clear that everything, we've been doing this, we were really strong this year, and we will be stronger next year because we've already looked at some products that are 100% that I have actually some paperwork on them to show you that it is free. So,
Yeah, I think John Morse mentioned that when he was here about the amount of composting that's happening, because you're working with the science department.
right.
Yeah, and so, that's fantastic, so thank you very much for doing and being a part of that whole process. So thank you for coming in tonight. Does
Thank
anybody
you.
else have any other questions? And then Joanna, I know you had, we had another part of our memo here around two new positions.
Thank you, Nancy. Since the participation rates are up and we're growing so much, Nancy's put together 2 job descriptions. One is for a operations supervisor / registered dietitian, and the other one is for a school culinary manager. Both of these are non-affiliated positions, so meaning not part of a bargaining unit, and both units, or both positions would be funded from the school food service revolving fund. And before you, Nancy wrote a little two-page summary of the job description. And, they have pretty much a school year schedule, coming in a little bit before, and being competitive with other programs in the area. The salary range is listed there too. So if you have any questions about the position, Nancy's available. I can do my best. And then if you agree with this, I put down a suggested motion to accept them.
Can you give us like a rationale of why we need these positions?
Well, the dietitian's position was a position that we had in the past, and she didn't stay with us. So that's just a position I'd like to bring back, and I just put it with slash as an operations supervisor, so the hours, and we could use the help in the office. So that's that position. The position as a cook is, in all honesty, we need someone that has some more background in cooking. And we put out a lot of meals, and a lot of times, like, I'll have to go into the kitchen, and I'm doing a lot of that, like the cooking, and it's not part of what I don't think you all want me to be doing. But we do it because, as they were hired in the past, like, don't forget, you used to have the preferred meals here. So some of the employees are coming from that, and they weren't hired as cooks. And so as we're hiring now, we're trying to get more experience. And then it just keeps everything, the person I would like to go around to each school, do some training, and make sure everything is the same throughout the school. Because, I don't want one elementary school to have something looking this way or being fed, and the other elementary school getting something totally different. It will just keep everybody in line, it will keep everything in line together. And we could really use the help right now, I'll be honest with you. Because we may have a few people retiring, a few people leaving, and so instead of just hiring just these little part-timers and everything, having one solid full-timer looking over everything would help me quite a bit.
And you think it'll be easier to fill these positions? Hoping.
I did a lot of research, and I did a lot of comparisons and why I picked the salaries. And on the cook salary, I hope we have some, because, I come from the food service industry way back in the restaurant business, and I called people, and I also look at the fact that position, someone could still work evenings and still work on the weekends, so I thought it was a pretty good, decent rate. So I hope I get a lot of applicants. I can't guarantee that.
Great.
Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Sorry if I take a motion?
Yep. You
Dennis?
want to do them separately?
Yes, please.
Okay, first one, I make a motion to approve the new position of Chelmsford Public Schools Nutrition Operations Supervisor / registered dietitian as presented.
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion, any further discussion? All right, any further questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor?
I make a motion to approve the new position of Chelmsford Public Schools Culinary Manager as presented.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor. Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, have a good summer. You too, have a good summer.
Have a good summer, yeah. We'll see you next fall.
They're done at school, so you're not, but they,
We'll make sure you get a good chair too.
Yeah, next time we have arms.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, next up,
Yep, next up, our third item on the agenda is recognition of LGBTQ plus Pride Month. We have done this for the last several school years, and this actually started with the Select Board a couple of years back, with a proclamation, again, recognizing June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in our schools. So we adopted or adapted the Select Board's proclamation, and you have that before you in the packet tonight. And I, again, would recommend that the school committee review and acknowledge this. It's something that we then would send out to the schools to just really reaffirm that Chelmsford is an open and really a school district that wants everyone to be able to participate and belong in the schools. So we recommend your approval of that, and again, we would sign it and then send it out to the schools.
Susan, I'll have you read the proclamation first, and then we'll vote.
Sure. All right, this is the Chelmsford Public Schools proclamation on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, that's LGBTQ plus, Pride Month of June 2023. Whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is a welcoming learning community, and whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools recognizes the importance of equality and freedom, and whereas the nation was founded upon and is guided by a set of principles that includes that every person has been created equal, that each has rights to their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that each shall be accorded the full recognition and protection of law. And whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus community are a vital part of all fields and professions and contribute to a stronger community. And whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all its members and preventing discrimination and bullying based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our system. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control recognizes that LGBTQ plus teens are at a higher risk to be the victims of violence and have increased suicide rates. And whereas it is imperative that young people in the district, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers, educators, and school leaders. Now, therefore, we, the Chelmsford School Committee, and on behalf of the Chelmsford Public Schools, hereby proclaim and recognize June 2023 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, that's LGBTQ plus, Pride Month in the Chelmsford Public Schools, and urge all members to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ plus community and to actively promote the principles of equality and liberty.
Thank you. All right, Dennis, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to proclaim and recognize June 2023 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month in the Chelmsford Public Schools.
I'll second that.
All right, is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0 in favor. Thank you.
Great. And just at the end, if I can get that, we'll sign it and we'll send that around to the schools. Great. Next is that MASC resolution.
Right, so I know that we had talked about a few meetings ago that any resolutions were due to MASC by the beginning of June, and I did have a chance to talk to you all individually so that we could submit one by the deadline. This comes about because, as you know, we went through our training with ideas. And so they had reached out and asked if myself and Shannon Bischoff, Dr. Lang attended, I believe it was their Board of Directors meeting, and to just talk a little bit about what our experience was there throughout the training. So I was able to do that there, and what came out of that was the opportunity for us to put forth a resolution for the MASC conference that would suggest that the MASC, as part of their charting the course, include a module on DEI, and then offer additional resources on their website for school committees who wish further training. So, and then congratulations to you all, because we'll be presenting at the conference in November.
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that was also, that information was also submitted to Christine McGrath, Dr. McGrath, who's in charge of that as well. So we'll be probably doing it as a panel with other school districts that are embarking on this process as well. So with that, I was hoping that I could put forth to you tonight this resolution and vote for your acceptance to have it be submitted for the November conference when we go down to the Cape for that, so. So I'll take a motion, Dennis.
Make a motion to submit the resolution, I make a motion to submit the resolution to include issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion within the charting the course orientation program to MASC for consideration at the MASC yearly conference in November.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I do want to say, I was a little caught off guard, so I'm stumbling over my words tonight because I'm trying not to laugh a little bit because I thought I was only going for a short presentation, and I came out writing a resolution and now presenting at a conference with you all, so, congratulations to us, I guess. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be great, but it wasn't really what I was expecting, but happy to do it. And I think the fact that we had completed the training, does offer us a perspective to share with other school committees that I think will be helpful, so.
It's a very good idea because, think about it. I mean, we have a new school committee member. We had just gone through this training. We're not going to be able to offer it all the time. It has its expense and so on. So I think it's really great because then it continues that every new school committee member will be able to, has to take that course. So as part of it, offering, I think it's great. So you must have done an excellent job, Donna. Congratulations.
I don't know about that, but it was certainly an opportunity, so.
Well, I'll say I am completely in support of this, and I'm very proud to be part of a school committee that's on the forefront of this. So I think it's a great idea.
I do want to recognize Dennis's major contribution to writing this resolution.
I was going to say, it's well-written.
And I also want to recognize that Susan contacted me because in the last sentence, it says MCAS as opposed to MASC. So,
The acronyms are too
yeah,
close.
it's,
What were you thinking of, Dennis?
Good catch.
yeah, they just blend together after a while. So thank you, Susan, and thank you, Dennis, very much for putting this together for us. So, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0 in favor.
Before we continue.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Is there any PowerPoint presentation or anything that I could refer back to from the training that you all did?
The ideas training?
I will look.
Yes, I'd love to review it.
There were handouts.
Let us take a look. There were definitely handouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can put your hands on any of it. That would
Yeah,
be
let us
great.
see what we can pull together for you.
Yeah.
Because we had done, like the admin group, one of our summer professional developments was a 2-day training with that
Right.
group. And then we did like an abridged version with the school committee over the course of the whole year. So I definitely have the handouts. I just don't know which is which, but we'll pull them all together for
Anything
you.
you put your hands
Yeah,
on would
and
just
we
help
can,
me.
we
I've
can
done a
send
lot
them
of
to you.
reading on my own, but it would be great to just see whatever materials you might have.
Yeah, no, we'll pull a package for you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Great. So that's already been submitted, so we don't have to worry
It's all
about that. I'll just change that.
And Dr. Hirsch was very, very helpful.
She always is.
So, thank you, Dr. Hirsch, for
Now, do
doing
we have to send anything to them that we officially voted on, or just assume that we did?
So, what I did is we submitted, and then if it didn't pass, we would pull it. Okay, but I just wanted to make sure we had it in by the deadline. And as I said, having spoken to everyone individually, people indicated that they thought it was a good idea, so.
Great. I'll just change that MCAS to MASC on that one, just so we have it going forward.
Somebody's mind was an MCAS.
I know, all the time.
Many, many years of MCAS being the one.
Cool. Next item tonight is, actually, items 5 and 6 are together. This is just a list of some additional one-time expenditures we've been able to finalize some quotes for, verify availability of product and whatnot. So this list before you this evening adds up to $168,683. And Joanna has incorporated the actual dollar amounts as well as the transfer categories on the same chart on the second page. Most of this, the significant pieces are actually related to finishing some of the teacher room refurbishments that we've been trying to do. So far, we've been going around the district. We redid them at the high school. The Harrington, this is the next batch of schools to go through. So this will actually finish all the schools, hopefully by the end of the summer. So when we come back to the fall, all of the teachers' rooms would be refurbished. Some new student chairs over at Center School. There's a couple of additional numbers that had come in on projects. These aren't big numbers, but like $2,200 for the oversight for the installation of the curtain at the high school, little things like that. But the list before you tonight adds up to $168,683. And again, we'd recommend your review and approval. Happy to answer any questions. May or may not have a last couple at the next meeting in June, but the list is winding down.
Now, the awning at Harrington, is that new?
Yeah, it's new. It's, you know where the modular classrooms are? There's a ramp that kind of goes to the modular classrooms. And the kids, when they're transitioning between buildings, the rain comes down very funny at that door and it just gets them all wet. So it's going to basically just protect the ramp as the kids are coming down the door to go across to get into the main building.
Is that an issue at IM or?
No, not for whatever reason. The Byam doesn't have that ramp. The kids just come in at ground level.
Similar schools. So
It is. I just don't know if it's just the way the thing is designed or how it's catching water. But no, it hasn't been an issue with the other schools.
So it's not to go span the whole distance, it's just an awning so that the drip doesn't happen.
Yeah, think, like, if you can kind of visual where the modular classrooms is, when you come out the door, there's that little ramp you walk
Right.
down, then you have to walk across.
Yeah.
It's my understanding, this is basically just covering you as you walk down to get to the area to walk across.
Okay.
And really just because the kids do kind of back up when they're trying to get in the door, and then if they are leaving, just to kind of keep them a little drier.
Sorry.
I'm curious why refurbishing Center is so much less money than refurbishing all the other teachers' lounges.
Yeah, the Center Teachers Lounge is actually already in very good shape. So it already has flooring. The VCT flooring is in great shape. It's been painted already. The big thing we're doing there is actually just putting in new furniture.
Okay.
So it's furnishings, like the south row, just off the top of my head, because I was looking at it. The south row room, we actually have to remove, there's an old carpet on the ground. There's some asbestos abatement. We have to put a new floor down before they can even put the new equipment in. So there was just much more work. Center is really.
newer school.
It's a newer school, but the room itself is very nice. We're just gonna outfit it with new furniture.
Okay, thanks.
So just one comment on this.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to see this. I've heard a lot of really nice comments about the Harrington upgrade and the high school. And the Wellness Committee is going to be ecstatic that this is in here, because that was one of the goals of this year, was to try to do something that improves the well-being of our employees, our staff, and having this kind of place where they can go to when they need to relax for 5 or 10 minutes, take a break or have their lunch, away from the classroom, away from, the students and so on, because when we're at work, sometimes we all need to get away, right? We thought would be one of the great things for the well-being of our staff. So this is really something that I think is important. And, people may think, I don't know, some people might say that we are spending money on furniture for teachers' lounges. Well, believe me, they should come and see what currently is there. Like, your grandmother's estate left you this couch, and the couch came over to the school lounge, or your, name something, a microwave. I saw so many microwaves that were like, outdated thing. It was really awful. So this is great to see this.
Yeah, the ones that have been done, and I can notably speak about the high school and then the Harrington, those I've seen really do come up very nice. The staff seem to really appreciate them, so we want to just continue with that.
Super.
Are there any other questions? All right, Dennis?
I make a motion to approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfers totaling $168,683 for the Chelmsford Public Schools as presented. This transfer from 4 DESI categories that are favorable to 5 DESI categories where the items should be purchased.
Second.
All right. Are there any other questions or further discussion? Okay, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0 in favor.
Now, I assume there'll be some more at our last meeting in June.
Yeah, there might be a handful more. We're just, two big things. We have to make sure if we're gonna put a commitment out to purchase something, that we're gonna be able to get in timely so that we can pay the invoice and have it all fall within the window. And then some of the other ones, just like more project-based, it's scheduling, it's just availability of like vendors and things like that. So, yes, there may be a handful more at the last meeting in June, not a significant amount, but that's when we'll also start talking about some of the year-end transfers and things.
Okay. And now, like the Valley Credit thing and,
Yeah, that's all gonna happen between the last meeting in June and the first meeting in July.
okay. And then turf field was another one, what we usually do.
Yep, that's usually a transfer, so that would be like, those are like cleanup transfers we do at the end of the year, but that's all gonna be coming.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all the normal stuff, it's all the stuff you've seen in the last couple of years.
So,
Yep, that'll be coming.
I do have one question. We still haven't had a chance to review that safety audit, and I didn't know if there was anything that we needed to
Yeah,
consider.
it's nothing on your end. Yes, there are gonna be some expenses with that, but again, those just have such a long lead time. I don't think unfortunately this use of funding is gonna be helpful to us.
Okay.
But if you recall, one of the things that we're obviously going to do is recommend prepaying the tuitions for some of our sped costs, which basically, if we're able to pay using fiscal '23 money, the tuition, in fiscal '24, we're gonna have over budgeted for the sped tuitions. So we can actually then reallocate money within the '24 budget to, say, a construction, if we need to do some things along those lines, or safety and security. We'll buy ourselves some flexibility to be able to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to ask Joanna on the next one, 7, just to walk you through a couple of cleanup items, just for the small group of remaining non-affiliated staff.
Thank you. So earlier this year, at the meeting in March, you saw the list of employees, and at that time, non-affiliated employees who received a COLA increase, and then for this year and for next year, and we presented that in March, and you approved it in March. And then also at the May 16th meeting, you approved the 3% cost of living increase by line item in the budget category. So this list before you is the list of employees who you have not seen yet, who would be, we recommend their salary increase, the 3% cost of living for fiscal year '24, so that's effective July 1st, 2023. And then these numbers also line up with what you saw in the May 16th fiscal '24 budget book and the staff salary book.
Okay.
okay, I make a motion to approve a 3% increase to the annual salary or hourly rate of pay as specified to the listed non-affiliated employees effective July 1st, 2023.
Second.
All right, is there any other questions or further discussion on this? No? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0 in favor.
Great, thank you very much. Moving along, just have a few slides for you, not too long, but just with some of our middle school reconfiguration, the realignment that we're doing for the fall. Give you a little bit of an update on that. Cover a couple of items that have now been completed that we can report out on. So when we kind of took a look at earlier last fall, where we were, and then what we had to accomplish between now and then, one of the things that we did put in place is what we call transition teams. This is something that had happened the prior spring, when we were even taking a look at this whole process. We had staff from the different schools get together just so that they could be a sounding board and actually provide some thoughts and input into the various elements that we were looking at. We had to take a look at the staffing and, where they would actually go if we ended up moving the 5-6 to be Parker and the 7-8 to be McCarthy. Support staff obviously also had to be assigned. We knew we had some school leadership that we had to hire for the buildings. One of the logistical issues was around transportation, and then obviously scheduling was important. And one of the things that we did was attend the district management group, that DM group, Scheduling Institute, to really kind of get at some of the things that were identified in the strategic plan with regard to time on learning and whatnot. So what we have been able to accomplish by this point really is most things. So our staff, both our teaching staff and our support staff in the buildings, have been notified. They were notified earlier this winter, the teachers, and then it was around April vacation where all the support staff were notified of their assignments for next year. We actually asked each of the staff members from the schools to give us feedback and a preference as to where they'd like to go. Most people, if you were currently a 5th and 6th grade teacher, you wanted to go to the Parker. If you were 7th and 8th, you were going to go to McCarthy, but we didn't want to kind of guess at that. But at the end of the process, for all of our regular general ed staff as well as special education staff, all of the teachers in those categories were able to have their requests fulfilled. So that was pretty significant. Certainly, there are still, some people who were sad about leaving a school that they've taught at for so long to go to a new school. But we were able to accommodate all of the staff requests. When it came to the support staff, I think I'm down to one at this point that wanted a particular preference that we haven't been able to, just because of the numbers of students that are necessary, accommodate. They certainly still have a position. They would just prefer to be in a different school as opposed to the one that we need them at. So if we end up getting any, resignations or openings over the course of the summer, we can certainly try to continue to help that individual. But at the end of the whole process, to really be down to just one person that was impacted, I think is significant. We have been able to finalize the transportation decision on this one with regard to the kids and how this is all going to work for the busing. And the buses are going to remain the way they are now. So we're going to have basically townwide pickups of all grades 5 through 8 students at the same time. So if you're a parent, you're going to have a pickup and a drop-off the way you do now for your middle school kids, whether they're in grades 5 to 8 or attending either school. They're going to get picked up at the bus. We're going to do a stop at McCarthy. Anyone who's going to McCarthy for 7th, 8th is going to get off, and then the bus is going to continue over to Parker and drop off the kids 5, 6 at Parker. At the end of the day, all the buses will stage at McCarthy, and we'll get to this in a few minutes. We are going to need a 10-minute change in school time. So McCarthy is going to start in the morning at 8:10. Parker is going to start at 8:20. Both schools right now start at 8:19. So Parker is basically going to move 1 minute. They're going to move just because I don't like the fact that they were an odd number anyway. It was always kind of strange to me. So we're going to have Parker just start at 8:20, and just to have about a 10-minute gap, we're going to have them start at 8:10. So it's only a 9-minute change, which really shouldn't be significant for staff or students. But that notice, the staff were alerted, and then that'll be in the bulletin this week for families. So, but everyone is going to ride the bus at the same time. So because this was a concern, so if you have an older sibling that kind of watches the younger sibling, and who's going to get on the bus first, they're all going to be riding together, and they'll just be dropped at the two places. We do have the master schedules completed, going through that district management group. We're just fine tuning some of the way that the rotation is going to work for some of the specials and whatnot. But that actually was a very good process. We're just kind of bringing to a close now. Staff have been able to have meetings with schools that they're going to. A couple of staff meetings. If you knew you were going to be at McCarthy, you actually went to McCarthy to attend it, get to walk around the school, get to see the rooms you're going into. Same thing at Parker. So that's been ongoing. We've had a lot of communication around the whole physical moving process. So teachers, have a lot of different materials they need to obviously pack if they're moving from McCarthy to Parker and vice versa. We have a moving company that's going to come in and do the move for them. So they basically just have to kind of pack up their rooms in the materials that we give them and then leave them in their rooms. They don't have to move anything. The moving company will come in a week after school ends and physically move everything to the new locations for them. So when they come back in August, the materials will be in their classrooms for them. They'll just have to do the setup. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts this summer. It's going to be a very busy summer, but we do have a professional moving company on board to help us with that. And then student transition tours have already happened during the school day at the buildings. Actually, one more is happening tomorrow. But I happened to be at McCarthy today when the Parker 6th grade kids, yeah, it must have been the sixth grade kids, were over for their tour of the school, and it was nice to see the kids kind of getting, they were paired up with a kind of a mentor from McCarthy, who was an older student from the building, just to give them that little tour of the space. So that's all been happening. And then next week, we actually have some meet and greets. Well, one actually maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we have some meet and greets with the admin at the schools. So that's been noticed to parents. So that's on a separate slide. As soon as we get there, I'll tell you the dates and times. So there has been a lot of work. As I mentioned, the staff and student assignments are out. I think we're in very good shape for the fall. Just in general, not only with these two middle schools, but hiring is going well in the district. We're really just down to a handful of positions now that we're looking to hire. So I'm feeling good about being done at the end of next week as far as people leaving for the summer and really having staffing in a good place. We did spend some time this winter in a hiring process for a new principal of Parker Middle School. We had some teachers involved, parents involved. We had some initial interviews. We ended up having 4 finalists. We held meet and greet events at the school to get some feedback from staff. They were able to give us some input on each of the different candidates. Linda and I finally met with the finalist candidates, and in the end selected Josh Blagg, who is currently the dean of Chelmsford High School, to lead up the new Parker Middle School. So Josh is already in the works. It's always difficult when you have someone in the district assuming a new role. It's like you're doing 2 jobs at the same time. And this is a very difficult time for the high school just because they have all their end of the year activities. But he's been doing a nice job getting to meet the staff of both buildings and holding some events with them. So I think staffing wise, we're in really a good position. As I mentioned previously on the transportation, we're going to continue to run everything together, grades 5 to 8. We're going to utilize all 29 buses that we have under the contract. Joanna and Peter were out there over April vacation, actually doing, parking the buses and seeing how we're going to fit them all into the lots and whatnot, timing the runs. I think she told me it takes 4 minutes and 20 seconds to get from McCarthy to Parker, so we have it all down to a number of minutes. And again, just a very small differential in the start times is what we're going to attempt for the fall. So McCarthy would have an 8:10 start time, and then Parker an 8:20.
What does that translate to dismissal time?
Well, it basically just
Same idea,
moves
10
Parker
minutes
by 1
different?
minute and 9
Yeah.
minutes on the other one. I just don't have them
Same
up.
difference, a 10-minute spread?
2:30 and 2:40?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't change them
I don't know what it was,
significantly. Right.
They were both out at 2:40, now it's 2:30 and 2:40.
Middle school scheduling, again, we talked about this a little bit. The draft master schedule was shared with staff. Staff have been assigned their new rooms for next year, and they're working through the logistics on that end related to the move and whatnot. We are continuing the teaming concepts at both middle schools. One of the nice things about having more teachers from grade levels together is where the schools are able to kind of design the schedules, so you have 2 teams having the same schedule. So in the event that there's ever an issue with, say, a child that's not, meshing well with a particular team or whatnot, we'll be able to move them from one team to another team without having to reorganize all of their schedule. And that will be really important when it comes to, like, say, special ed services or L services or whatnot. We're really also going to be putting a focus, and we'll lay this out for you in the fall as we come back, but on really trying to minimize the amount of times kids are pulled from core instruction classes to participate in special ed services, REL services, reading services. We're using some elective blocks during the school to better schedule that. The schedule is going to result, by doing this, in a better balanced and slight reduced class sizes at the 2 middle schools, which I think will be very well received. At Parker, we are able to increase our ELA and math time, and math in particular was really a focus of the DMG, the strategic planning. And at the same time, ELA, obviously, it's been very difficult for us to do the whole new literacy program we have with the amount of time that we had dedicated, so that was a nice trade-off. And then McCarthy, again, for 7th and 8th grade, to try not to have kids being pulled from these core classes, are going to do an electives-based program 4 days a week where kids can pick an elective, or that would also be a window where they might be able to do their L or their SPED services. So again, they're not going to get pulled out of their English class. It'll be like a double dose, which was really the intended action. So a lot more work on that when we kind of roll out for this fall, but high-level stuff has been shared with the schools. And again, they'll be working with folks over the course of the next probably month or so to refine things. But I think scheduling overall is going fairly well. Again, on the staff connection front, staff have been able to meet, they've been able to see the new spaces. Again, I think everyone's comfortable that the teams are staying the same, so they at least know who they're going over with and who their partners are going to be. And they've had a couple of opportunities to meet in their new buildings. And obviously, that will continue as we close down this school year, everyone packs, and we get ready for the big physical move. I already talked about the moving process itself. I won't go through this again, with the exception of the purge bins. This is a very nice time to just purge. We do have a lot of materials that have just accumulated over the years. I think all educators tend to be a little bit of a pack rat, and this is a great opportunity to clean out. So the company we're working with has not only moving bins, but they have a different colored purge bin. So we've been able to kind of put these in the schools, and as teachers are cleaning out their spaces, they can actually just throw things away and clean up for the move. We don't want to move stuff from one building to another. If you're not using it now, there's no sense in moving it to the new building and then not using it as well. So I think we're really in very good shape on the moving front. I've worked with these moving companies and the companies that provide all the packing materials previously and other moves, and all in all, in the end, it'll work out very well. Again, we touched base a little bit on the student transition tours, so yes, I'm sorry, we do still have one tomorrow. The fifth grade is coming over to McCarthy, but I'm sorry, the McCarthy fifth grade is going over to Parker. And then both principals will work over the course of the summer on some tours as well, just once the buildings are actually set up. Teachers are in their places so that parents and kids can come walk through and get a better feel for the building and where things are going to stand. We do have a lot of stuff happening at the two middle schools this summer. Aside from these moves, we're renovating the science labs at McCarthy, which is a huge undertaking. All the modular classrooms in both buildings are having the floors redone, which means you have to physically take everything out of the rooms to do the floors. So there's a lot of moving parts, but we really want to work on, the end of June, July, into even early August to finalize that. So tours and things like that will likely happen probably about 2 weeks before the start of the school year. We can't have people through the buildings while there's so much construction going on, but, we're also doing the kitchen at McCarthy, so it's just like one more project, but it's gonna be a packed full summer as far as our projects are concerned, but we're hoping like that 2 weeks before we go back to school, we'll be able to do some tours. And then, lastly, the meet and greets with the admin at the buildings, if parents would like to come by and just kind of meet them, if they're not familiar with them. Tomorrow, Jeff Parks and Kerry Calabrese will be hosting a session at McCarthy. And then a week from today, Josh and Mark Seals will be hosting a session over at Parker. So just again, before the end of the school year, for people to put a name on the face if they'd like to and make a connection. But they'll be working over the summer. Our admin do work year-round. So even though the kids and the staff will be gone, they'll be doing fine-tuning of the schedule and, orderings and things like that for the fall. So again, it promises to still be a busy number of weeks, but I think things are moving along fairly well.
That's great.
So, just some high-level stuff for you, but happy to answer any questions and continue to, kind of check in with you probably at the July meeting and then an August meeting, just to let you know how everything is going.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, just a comment. One of the things had been at the meetings I went to for the middle school PTOs, asking about those meet and greets, and I'm just so glad to see that those are ongoing and scheduled and so on. Parents had wanted to meet the principals, which is great.
Just make sure Brian Curley's well supplied with coffee and donuts, because he's gonna be
Yeah.
working a lot.
He's getting a little ornery, I'm gonna be honest with you. He's been a little ornery these last couple of weeks. He gets very stressed when it comes
It's
to
gonna be a
this.
busy summer.
We're gonna have a very busy summer, but,
My question is gonna be about the science lab, but obviously you already mentioned, it's gonna be going on while you're trying to get people in and.
yeah, the schedule is quite packed, because, one of the things with the science labs is we do have to abate the material. So the first company, it's all staged, but the first company has to come in and actually cut down the existing casework to basically ground level, so that the abatement company can then come in and actually abate the whole area. Then you've got to coordinate with the new flooring company to come in and install the new floors, and you've got to coordinate with the company who's going to bring in all the new furniture to bring it in and install it. gas, electric, the whole deal. So there's a lot going on just in the middle of everything else happening. And the kitchen renovation project too, I think Thursday, is the bid opening for the general contractor for that.
right.
So we're gonna have the kitchen being renovated at McCarthy at the same time. Ironically, the modular classroom flooring shouldn't be that significant. It's another company I've worked with previously as well. They do a very nice job. It just, whenever you're doing flooring, you have to get everything off the floor. So we physically have to move everything out of the modules. It's not quite as bad at McCarthy because there's really just the 4 in the back. But if you think about Parker, I forget if it's like 12 or 13, but it's that whole row in the back where the 5th and 6th grade currently are. Everything has to come out of those classrooms so that we can put down the new, it's basically, there's like a plywood base. What we need to remove the VCT, put down like a loo on top so that the new flooring adheres properly. But it's just gonna be time consuming. Everything is gonna be right up until the end in August, which is why people really aren't gonna have access to the building until about 2 weeks before school starts.
But hopefully all that stuff will be done in those last 2 weeks is when teachers can get in and,
Yeah, so just so you know,
Where they
like,
want them
what
to
we
be.
normally do for the teaching staff, as you might know, is, so like next Thursday is a half day for kids, but it's a full day for staff. And then the staff come in a half day on that Friday. And we've said 99% of the staff will be done that Friday, but we always have some staff that still like to come in and clean. So Monday is the Juneteenth, so it's a day where all the buildings are closed. But we've asked them to basically do everything they need to by that Friday. So they can have 4 days to kind of finish up anything they need to. But as of that Friday, they have to turn the buildings over to us. And then they're gonna be closed until, I think it's August 14th. It's like 2 weeks before school starts. But we are gonna let staff back in, usually we only do 1 week before school, but we're gonna let them back in 2 weeks early, so that they can have a little extra time to set up their rooms. But we're really gonna need right up until that 2 weeks to get everything done.
The other thought, as I watched your presentation, is that it's really great that this middle school realignment and the strategic plan implementation, the beginning of it, is coinciding here. Because you've got all this scheduling, which was really part of what was creating a lot of the inequities coming into play. And hopefully, this will, both the physical location and the change in the physical location and the fact that the scheduling is being revamped will go right in hand with what we're trying to accomplish in the strategic plan. So that was great to see too. And I know it's a lot at the same time, but it actually seems to work out well because it's a whole new thing.
It is a lot. I think the timing was just, it was an opportunity because all of this was happening. It's still gonna take some time to get the implementation. It's not gonna be overnight, but we're gonna have to adjust to some of these changes and really make sure that first year, as we're going through the whole schedule and the implementation of everything, that it goes smoothly. We may need to adjust as we go, where, again, I think I'm fairly confident that this 10-minute window on the transportation is gonna work. We could get into it and realize we need 15 minutes. I mean, there are gonna be little things that are gonna come up, but we'll be on top of them, and we'll be very communicative. I'll bring any of the information to you that we're hearing, or that we're struggling with. And, we'll just make the best decisions that we can, given the information we have, and make sure we're putting together the very best program we can. But I will say, even as we've been doing this, we've been making sure everything we're doing in the district really is aligned to that strategic plan, the various goals. And that's why, even like I was joking with you earlier, but like that DEI work, it really does tie into the whole equity piece of the planning that we're doing. So everything we're doing really does tie back to that plan.
I did have a question, I'm sorry, Maria.
Sure.
On the middle school scheduling, because I do think it's important that, we take into consideration the recommendations from the DM group to address some of those inequities. But in solving those inequities, I don't want to create other ones by having our ELL kids and our special ed kids missing out on opportunities for anything in the specialists. Because that's a really important part of, I think, kids' education, and I think it's important for them socially and emotionally to make sure that they have access to some of those opportunities. So whatever we can do to make sure that we have that balance, I think is going to be very, very important, for all of the kids.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but that's been something we've been working at right out of the gate.
Okay.
So we can report back to you how the implementation piece goes.
Just a question of repercussions. how, we're now having to fill a dean position at the high school. Are we in that process, or?
Yeah, we're in the process. The high school had advertised, and I know they're interviewing some additional candidates this week as potential. You'd obviously like it to be done as quickly as possible for planning purposes, but it may still take a few more weeks. But, I mean, we would hope that, we would have a dean on as soon as possible. We are fortunate that we have the deans at the high school, so that they, and again, they work year-round as well, but they can, kind of keep the houses afloat. The staff in those house offices are excellent, and they know what the expectations are to get everything ready with the schedule for the fall. So, no, I'm fairly confident, again, that that'll all come together.
Anything else? All right.
Next item, number 9, and this is the last one for me for tonight, is just requesting your approval for a few additional field trips. The first one is just the McCarthy 8th grade class trip to Canopy Lake. Again, it's a one-day trip, but it just happens to be in New Hampshire. That's on the 14th. We had one additional ComEd request come in for a Summer Quest trip on July 12th up to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and the high school Spanish exchange program. The reason we put that on there tonight is this would be when our students actually go to Spain. It's not until next April, but we need to get approval now because the high school wants to advertise for this potential trip coming up, because the kids do need to generate some money to be able to pay for the trip. But we also, if a Chelmsford child is going to go on the trip, usually they serve as a host family for the kids from Spain who are coming here. And the kids from Spain coming here would be coming in the fall. So we didn't want to, not try to get ahead of this, but if we can get information out now about our trip, we can then start to solidify potential host families for, I don't have the exact dates, but last year it was like September, October, early November is when the kids from Spain came. So that's why that trip is on here for tonight. So I'd recommend your approval of all 3.
Do you want them one at a time, or?
Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the McCarthy Middle School 8th grade field trip to Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire on June 14th, 2023.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor.
I make a motion to approve the Community Ed Summer Quest field trip to Seven Rivers Paddling in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on July 12th, 2023.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor.
I make a motion to approve the Chelmsford High School Spanish exchange trip to Almeria, Spain from April 10th to April 20th, 2024.
Second.
Any questions? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any liaison reports?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. CHS, this is a end of the year report for them. They met on Monday. They have a board for the coming year, which is absolutely wonderful. They are truly, truly grateful to the community for all the support they got for the after prom. There were tons of donations that were made. Folks donated things like the DJ, the cost of the DJ, all kinds of things, including, I think, Dr. Lang reached out again and was able to get a donation from the AG's office, is that right?
Correct, yeah, she donated $500 towards the event.
That was really great. This is really a great thing. They got over 200 students participating. And at the end, they had over 80 students still towards the end of it, which is like 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning. And people were winning prizes, going home very happy. And I talked to some of the students myself after graduation, and they were saying they had an absolute blast and a great time. They want to thank everybody at the Council of Schools because the volunteers this time were from all across the board, elementary, middle school parents, and other folks from the high school other than senior parents. The other thing that happened for them was the staff lunch, which happened on May 24th. The reports, they got rave reviews on it, and they want to thank administration for all the support in that as well. Okay, so that was the high school, and I look forward to being liaison next year, and I told them, don't worry, Sue. They tried to reach out to Sue. McCarthy, PTO,
Teresa was
met
just
as
wondering,
well.
will be it.
They had a really great meeting. One of their concerns was addressed tonight already in having those meetings with parents so that they can meet and greet both the facilities and the principals in the buildings. And they also decided that they've met with the Parker PTO. They are gonna have 2 separate boards, but they will have 1 meeting. So that will change things a little bit in terms of maybe liaison, I don't know. I'll talk to John about that as well, for Parker and McCarthy. But they're gonna have a joint meeting and still keep their PTOs alive, legally intact, and they're talking about what to do about the monies and so on. Okay, so that went really well. The other committee that met that I'm a liaison to was wellness, and I was not able to make that last meeting because I was away. But they also had a really good end of the year, and one of their things was the lounges, which I reported to them that it was in today's items that we voted on. So thank you.
Great.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just Center School PTO had their last meeting. They elected their new board. What's interesting there, they have for every single position. So just their board is 12 people, which is great, so the meetings were very well attended. But they were just recapping what went on this year and kind of looking forward to next year and some of the things they want to do for next year. Then CHIPS PTO had their last meeting as well. They elected their new board, which is their old board. But it's a great place. Sue came to meet them and kind of get a feel for them. It's just great, hard-working people that do a lot of work. They really do.
Just a few of them.
But they were going over their enrichment activities as well. They want to express their thanks for the support on the staff appreciation events. They really appreciate that that's there. And then CPAC is having a virtual meeting tomorrow night. So they're going to be online, and there's login information on their Facebook page. So I think that's at 7, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Thank you. And then just for me, I'm sorry, Susan, did you have any?
No, I'm going to Harrington's PTO meeting on Thursday to meet them for the first time, so get that started.
All right. The Chelmsford Friends of Music will be meeting on June 14th at 6 p.m. in the McCarthy Room at the library. So if anybody's interested in attending, please do so, and know that they're always open to having new members join. Great group. Love to have more parents join if their kids are involved in any of the music programs. So, all right. Does anybody have any action items or new items?
I have a couple, but Maria.
Yeah, but do you go ahead? It's okay, Dennis.
No.
So one of the things I would, if we could get something on what's anticipated as enrollment for the coming year, what we've got down for K coming in and so on
Okay.
for the coming year. I also noticed today we didn't have a personnel report, so I'm sure it's because either there was no action or you've got a big one coming.
The personnel report we always do at the second meeting of the month,
Okay,
because it recaps everything that happened the prior meeting, but it takes, because if we do it the first one, I don't have enough time to put it together. So that's a standing report, always the second meeting of the month. So you'll
Okay.
have it next
so
meeting.
that's great.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. Are you particularly concerned about the K enrollment?
I'm wondering what's happening at the elementary level.
Okay.
Only because I don't know what's coming down in the town. And, rumors I've heard about certain things that might happen.
Okay.
So just concerned about, what our numbers are now and what we're looking at.
I can give you we'll do like a snapshot in time, just so you can kind of see who's in seats as of a particular day when we run the report. But we did do the second kindergarten enrollment back in April, Joanna? April. And then, obviously, sometimes then too, we get some additional, say, first grade students. So I can do that for the next meeting for you, just to give you the numbers.
Sure.
But we don't really have a lot of other activity, anything unusual happening in the rest of the elementary grades. But I'll pull something for you.
Okay, thank you.
Was there something in particular that you were concerned about?
Well, we don't know what's happening with certain projects, and I.
Okay, I see, housing.
I think it's all potential
Okay, gotcha.
possibilities.
All right.
But I mean, if we're around the same numbers, we might be just fine, but if we're not, then
You're talking about housing?
very
That was
possible.
gonna be one of my items, just.
Okay,
That was
all right.
How's that going to
the
impact?
potential of
The potential of the hotel?
the hotel being used for,
hotel,
yeah,
yeah.
and what would that impact the schools and.
Yeah, scary,
Oh, so just to talk about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was gonna take them, I know that was, they were talking about several months for renovation though, right, for that?
I don't know.
I think.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be, I did have a meeting with Paul, just so he could fill me in on it. There's a whole permitting process, like a licensing process they have to go through because that facility hasn't been open to the public for a number of years. So I do think it would take a little bit of lead time for them to be able to do that. I don't think it's unrealistic to think by September or early fall, it could potentially be a site, but it would be very difficult for us to be taking in additional kids, so we're gonna have to watch that closely. We don't receive advance notice, so, families can be placed, wherever and whenever. And we would have to look at some type of a strategy, because the elementary feed would be, I haven't even filled you in on this yet. The elementary feed would be center. And then, obviously, the middle schools would be McCarthy and Parker. We may have a little bit of room there, and the high school's the high school. But as an elementary school, depending on the age of kids, center would not be able to absorb all the students. So transportation would obviously be involved anyway. That may be, do you know how sometimes we've had a situation like there was the development on Mill Road on our Turnpike? That was technically like in the center district, but it was close enough because we had buses running to South Row. We would almost designate a particular development to be going to a different school, or it might have to be like a diverse development that gets broken up. We potentially could have to do something like that for that site. Because of the busy road, you'd be talking about buses anyway. So we may just need to transport students so that we kind of equaled the distribution in the schools where we had space. But I do think we're probably still 3-4 months, from even knowing what we're dealing with. But Paul did say he was gonna keep me up to speed on the whole licensing, permitting process and whatnot, and what was even happening at the state level.
Isn't it entirely possible too that some of those students could return to their home, or their community to attend school?
Because it's their choice.
Yeah,
It is their choice, yeah.
It is, but like, that's not gonna help us from a transportation standpoint.
Right,
So,
correct.
Sure, not-
Yes, this is,
But enrollment at schools, it would help us if they go somewhere else, but then we have the transportation instead, yeah. Were you superintendent when Best Western was widely used?
well, is that the one behind the Ground Round?
Behind Moonstones there?
Moonstones?
That was
Round
used.
Mound is what it
It
used
was
to
the Ground Round.
it was.
Yes, it was Ground Round.
I like the
Yes,
Ground
it
Round.
was Ground Round, yeah.
I like Moonstones too.
But that was
You're dating
used,
yourself.
quite
Yes.
widely used.
That was, and then also out on the road that goes to, out nearby him, what's that, road?
27?
If you keep going, you go to Kimball's, like the one.
110.
110.
yeah.
If you're, on that, yes, if you're related to an ice cream stand or something, I know where you're going. But on that particular one, the development on the right side of the road originally was more temporary housing.
Yes.
It's now become more permanent housing. But we also had a number of families that were from all over the state that were basically accommodated there.
Yeah.
And then that was a challenge for us because they all fed directly to Byam.
Yeah, because I was
And-
working at Center when
Okay.
the kids, there were a lot of kids living
Yep.
at that Best Western, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of turnover.
As of right now, it's my understanding that it's still used, Best Western, but more for adults as opposed to families. So because that's the case, we're fortunate not to have kids coming from the development, but it is still used for families. I don't fully know what this other one is gonna look like. I think it's gonna be probably premature to put it on the meeting for June in 2 weeks, but I definitely think it should be a topic for our July meeting, just as a check-in. And then, certainly monthly, we can, if it's gonna happen, we can do reports for you.
Okay.
Yep.
So it was in conjunction with that I was concerned about the enrollment, just to see what it was. And, I mean, it's not trying to be derogatory in any way. It's just an impact on the system. And housing is a great problem throughout the state. So there's a great need. And so the likelihood that it would happen could be high.
And another thing to look at is because of the lives these kids, you know, what happens when they're in their lives, it also, the guidance and the social workers, the impact on those programs could be great.
Right. I agree.
Anything else? Dennis?
The first one was that one. The second one is just, and this probably would be till maybe August, but just a report on student attendance in the district. You know, I saw an article about some other schools that are dealing with attendance, and I know even at my school, which is a single school, attendance is like the number one issue that kids just got used to staying home during COVID, and particularly with the upper levels, we just had rampant, you know, issues with tardiness and attendance, and so I don't know what it's like here in Chelmsford, just to get a report and how things look.
I don't think
No, we
people
can do like a
realize that
year-end
there are
report.
actually specific requirements around
Yeah.
attendance and,
Yeah.
you know, like how do we address that?
Right.
You know, when they've
Right.
exceeded those days. So,
Right. Yeah, we could do like a year end.
Yeah.
And then maybe even just take a look back to pre-COVID,
Right.
you know, for a year. COVID was tough. But we could look at what our rates were like pre-COVID compared to now.
Right, 'cause I know it's an issue, I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's out there, so.
All right, anything else? All right, the only other thing I had was, we received back at the end of May, an email from Paul Cohen regarding the public input session, based on the ruling from the SJC. And so, what I was thinking was it might be time to take a look at our public comment policies and, you know, whether or not we want to keep them or if we want to change anything in accordance with the SJC ruling. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have our attorney look at what we have now.
Yeah, well, the town attorneys did, so we'll have to have ours, yeah, I
Yes,
guess.
I think so, what we're
Yeah.
gonna do. is have-
And then we can figure out from there whether or not we want to make any adjustments or changes, or just keep it the same. So, but I do think, given that ruling, it is worth taking, revisiting it, so.
I forgot one, Donna, I'm
Yes.
sorry. On the strategic plan, we had talked about during the strategic plan session, doing a community-facing type
Yeah.
of presentation, again, on the strategic plan.
Yes.
So just getting that on the agenda at some point, I think will be important.
I think what we had, in one of the meetings, we talked about possibly doing almost like a year in review, like a recap of what happened. We can do that for the school committee, maybe like at the July meeting, because everything will be done by then. And then we'll also then be talking about like what our goals for next year are gonna be. I don't think it would be a bad idea, I'm totally open to what you think about this, but maybe we could host almost like a public forum type thing dedicated to a quick review of what happened over the first year, and then kind of shift into like what our actual goals for next year are and how they line up to the plan. And if we did that, maybe sometime it's like the end of September after school gets started, but before Columbus Day and we get too deep into the school year, that might not be a bad thing. Because you know how we've kind of talked about doing like public forum type things in the past? We could do into that. And even if a lot of people didn't come, it could be taped and we could post it up to the web and people could watch it.
I think that would be great.
And you'll get like a dry run overview in July when we do the whole overview. Can we go back for 1 second?
Sure.
To Dennis's, no, it was your thing on the public comment. Would you like me to forward the email we got from Paul with the town
Yes.
council's recommendations to Andy?
Yes.
And just ask him to look at that, because his firm did a legal advisory also in
Right.
relation to it. Why don't I email him what the town council's recommending with, for Paul? And ask him to just look at that in the context of our own policies, and then maybe just have a report back to us what he recommends.
Great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Do we have a staff retirement party happening?
Tomorrow. Yeah, we actually have the.
Thanks, Jay.
Yep, we have a number of staff retiring.
Where
Email,
is it?
weren't you?
No,
4 o'clock tomorrow at the Princeton Station. So we have that tomorrow afternoon.
Is that
4 o'clock
district-wide?
It's any of the staff members in the district who are
The total
retiring.
district-wide.
Yes, it's largely teachers. There were a handful
It's
of
when you used to
paras
have at
as
the
well.
Radisson back when I retired.
Correct, yeah, so it's tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. And I think we're celebrating about 12 retirement. We don't have a ton of retirements this year, but about 12 in total. So that is tomorrow, 4 o'clock, if you're available. Donna, we'd love to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. All right, is there any other business? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0 in favor. Thank you, everybody.